So Les, thank you for coming. Can you believe this is happening? You are the very first guest on this webcast for older martial artists, which by the way, we do need a better name. The name is not great. So I'm excited to do it. So we're going to get into some stuff a little bit later, but for now, we want to let everyone know about you. But rather than just having a bio, I'm going to give you 10 quick fire questions. Right?
Cool.
Don't think too much.
Yep.
All right, here we go. Well, your first one we know, Les Bubka. Right. Yep. Number one, age.
39.
39. How long have you been involved in the martial arts?
25 years.
25 years. That qualifies as an old man in martial arts. Are you a teacher, student, or both?
Both.
What's your primary art?
Karate.
Karate. Favourite move?
Favorite move, dive under the arm.
Worst move?
Worst move, Mawashigiri.
Okay. We just spoke about that before you go. Biggest challenge that you face as an older athlete?
Keeping fit, keeping with the, maybe the other way, fighting my 20-year-old brain with a 40-year-old body.
Yeah, know that feeling. Who has been your biggest influence in the martial arts to date?
My first two teachers, Shihan Artur Marhevka and my wrestling coach, Marek Niemiec.
I met your wrestling coach. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm still recovering. What was your primary reason for starting martial arts?
Enter the Dragon.
See, this is why it's a webcast for older people. Only they will get that. And your reason for continuing?
I just love it. It's addiction. I think it's addiction. If I don't train, I physically feel bad.
And that is Les Bubka. All right, listen. So a week ago, I've thought about this idea for a while. And about 10 days ago on social media, I said we were going to do this to all our kind of older martial arts community, and we got a ton of feedback. Load of different people saying, can you talk about this? Can you do this? Can you do whatever? And actually it was quite overwhelming. So I've decided to start at the top, quite literally at the top, with brain development, cognitive health and mental health, and no one is better suited to talk about that than you. Now you and I, of course, we're in sort of similar fields in that we look at martial arts, and part of what we look at is martial arts and brain development. I'm at the kind of the child spectrum, and you're right up at the older spectrum. And of course, I realise this podcast, when we say older martial artists, it will cover anything from 30 through to 80. But what I did want you to talk about a little bit is your amazing, and I absolutely love it, your Taiso program. Can you just let everyone know what the Taiso program is, who's it for, what does it do? Just tell us a bit about that.
The Taiso is my modification on the style of karate which I'm teaching. Taiso is just meaning the body conditioning. So as you know, we've got different versions of it. You've got the radio Taiso when they're jumping and doing physical exercises. And you've got Taiso Daroma, which is more like yoga style. We're doing something, I wouldn't say similar, but based like Tai Chi. So very slow motions, mainly kata, some few interesting exercises. But it's mainly relaxation, so we try to do the mental state relaxation, and there's no judgment or expectations. People just come in, have a great time, and at the moment we've got people from 39, 35 up to 92 years old.
92 years old.
Starting a year ago.
What I mean, why did you get involved there? Because of course lots of different people either do martial arts or teach martial arts for different reasons, but why particularly did you go down that route?
As always in my life, everything by accident.
Right.
So I quit my job. I've been qualified as a personal trainer. I had a lot of spare time before getting any clients. So I decided I'm going to volunteer and do stuff for a community. So I become a leader of, or one of the leaders in a Walking for Health organization. And in Fairlands around Guildford we had about 50 people, age 60 and over. And through the conversation it came up that some of them been doing Tai Chi, but the prices went astronomically up from £5 to £15.
Yeah.
And through conversation I said, well, we can do something like that from karate, just modifying the kata, the forms, and then we can do that, and that's how we started. And now we've got about 40 people around Guildford that are enjoying it every week.
We have had the pleasure of twice, I think, we've been involved in demonstrations with your program, and the thing that strikes me, aside from the cognitive and the brain development that we'll talk about in a second. But the thing that strikes me is that they absolutely love it. And they love you as well. I really, that last bit, when we joined in, I think we did 10 shows, 10 show as it were. And they absolutely love it. What sort of feedback are you getting from, one, their enjoyment and their engagement, but also what feedback are you getting from them in terms of kind of health benefits?
So the thing they enjoy, we never take ourselves seriously. And the first thing when they come in, I always tell them, we've got a very strict rule here. So everybody goes, what's that going to be? So don't get stressed. There's nothing you can do wrong. And since then, they are relaxed. And we have like a family atmosphere, so nobody's judging. I'm not there to tell them, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong. And from there, we're taking it. And the health benefits, there's wide range. So a few examples. We've got a lady coming after shoulder surgery. Doctor told her, get used to it, you're never going to have a full range of motion.
Right.
3 months down the line, she can fully move her arm. Thanks to tensor. Because we're doing very over-exaggerated movements, so have a full range of motions. The other example from the same thing, the lady had a snapped bicep when she was little. And as well, doctors told her that, get used to it, never gonna be fully extended. Same thing, fully extended. Got people age 70, 80 for the first time in life doing full squats after a year of training without any pressurizing, just going through the flow and motions. They suddenly can do full squat or nearly full squat with the heels on the floor. So it's amazing. And as well from mental point of view, from what I'm getting from feedback from the people, the family model in UK changed, so the old people are left behind when the family moves in. And I'm teaching through the summer holidays, and feedback from them is that it's great you're doing it because everything else is shut, and our family is enjoying the holiday, and we are left at home. There's
so actually a loneliness thing or a boredom thing as well.
So as they came to the club, the main club is about 5 years old now. We're doing it for 5 years. When we started, it was a group of individuals. Now you've got a group of people who are going together for Christmas markets, summer fates, traveling, coach trips and stuff like that. So they created a really group supporting each other. And if anybody got a problem, they just chat between. And it's not what I see often in different groups of martial arts. You've got subgroups, so people talking here. They are all together. And the main thing, forget the exercises. The most important thing about my club is a tea and biscuits after the exercises. Half an hour of tea.
It's interesting.
Biscuits.
We're going to talk a little bit about it later, but while I was researching, I'm just clicking on it now. Here it is, an article I looked at. It's on health.org, and it talks about depression in older adults, signs and symptoms. And one of them, as I was researching, was that lack of community or that isolation. And it's difficult for us to track. I have the same problem with children. It's difficult to track. We know anecdotally, we know by looking as teachers that what we're doing is making a massive difference. But of course, we have no definite research to say, it's working this neuron, probably maybe we should research it or we should kind of recording it. But either way, what we see is that whether it's the sense of community or the movement or whatever it may be, it's helping. And I love that. I mean, as you know, I'm a big fan of a lot of your work, but the one thing I really love is that TISO program, because they just, as I said before, look really kind of jolly and very happy to be there.
For me, that's the three keys to a depression. As well, I'm not a health professional, so I cannot diagnose people if they got a depression or not. And I think that the word depression is kind of overused in common language because, something goes wrong with our life and we say, we're depressed. We are not really depressed. We have a lower day when we're feeling a bit down. But it's not a clinical depression when it affects your life and you cannot live. But the helping counter the depression is a three keys for me. It's the meditation, so mental health, working over your problem and trying to calm and resonate with this. The community support, so you need to have a group of people who supports you without judgment.
So that's important, isn't it? Without the judgment.
They cannot tell you, oh, you just, there's no point having us supporting each other. Oh, get over it.
Yeah.
You're gonna be good.
Yeah.
No judgmental support group when you can come say, for me, working with people with mental health with a Welcome project, the striking thing was that you've got people coming in, and we all conditioned to answer the question, "How are you today?" Oh, it's great. And for me, I didn't know how to behave actually when I come in, and then people tell me, "No, I feel awful today. It's a very bad day." And then I was on the beginning taken back. How I'm going to reply to that? How can I support that person with the thing? And the third one is the physical exercising. When we exercise, the happy hormones are created in the head, and that helps. So if you've got those three things going on, there's more much chances, in my opinion. I don't know if that's. I think the science supports that as well. Better chances of recovery.
Yeah, and it's interesting, and certainly, so in the kind of the Eastern arts, as it were. I mean, we're from traditional karate backgrounds, like we do other stuff as well, wrestling and jiu-jitsu, but karate backgrounds. And one of the things I love about it is that whole mind-body connection. Whereas here, sort of Cartesian theory being that the brain is the brain is the thing and it's separate, but actually, in the Far East, certainly in the religions and in Buddhism in particular, it's not a religious comment, that's just a kind of cultural comment. It is that whole mind affects brain, brain affects mind. It's not one or the other. So we can, by working the brain, we can get into the mind and vice versa as well.
I think it changes now in Western as well.
You think it is changing?
We see that connection, and the doctors as well are recommending, for example, the Walking for Health. Now you've got the doctors recommending going for walks as a remedy for depression. Instead of giving the pills, go and start walking for health.
So one of my favourite, Lee Hasdall, kind of, godfather of British MMA. He taught me the word. I didn't know the word, but Shinrin Yoku. Has I said that right, Jezza? This is how we got our Japanese man over there. So Shinrin Yoku is essentially tree bathing or tree walking, where you walk through forests and do all sorts of stuff, and you do get that essence. And from my shiatsu days, Japanese acupressure, we used to do a thing called doin, where you get yourself fit from various things. And one of the things we do when we're on retreats is do a lot of that, and it does make a huge difference.
I've seen that. I think it was a TED talk. Right. I can't remember what, but one of the female scientists was saying that actually study shows that walking through the forest makes you calm down. The reason is the flickering of the light through the leaves. It affects your vision and the brain, giving you relaxation. If I find it at home, I'll send you a link.
We'll
because it's
it's
fascinating stuff.
You yourself have struggled with anxiety, and so know the mental health side, as we all do. And you've written a book about it, which I believe will be coming out in November.
Hopefully.
But could you talk a little bit about the problems of growing up as a martial? You're from Poland, right?
Yeah.
So growing up in tough, high-level, knockdown martial arts with some anxiety. Can you touch a little bit on that for those people who might be experiencing the same thing?
Sure. So maybe I start from the beginning. My father was long time alcoholic, so I never had a support from my dad. He was been only criticizing, and you're not good at that, you're not good at that. And then Enter the Dragon came into Poland, obviously late than everywhere else. I watched that, and one of my friends was saying, "Hey, let's go for a karate club." So I said yes because everybody else was going, but inside I was like, "Nah, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to find excuses to not do it." Luckily, they dragged me into there. We started, and slowly, with very, very difficult times. That progression in martial arts where you have a control failure, so you get conditioned to be a failure at some stage and head-on collision and break through that barriers, and that helped me a lot. And
I like that term, controlled failure.
And from that I built it up, and now we're teaching around and I'm quite comfortable on the outside, but the anxiety is still inside, and like today I'm shaking inside that I'm gonna do something wrong. So it's just constant battle. I think I'm just getting better in controlling it. My remedy for it is head-on collision. If I'm afraid of something, I just go and do it.
Yeah,
and then more time I'm doing it, the less fearful it is.
Yeah, that's interesting, and actually that brings us a little bit to the belt system.
Yeah.
Talking about we call it in our school small wins, but it's the same idea, that little bits where every time you achieve something in you knows that you go on. But interestingly, of course, traditionally there wasn't a coloured belt system; it was white and black. But for those who've been to Japan, realise that maybe not so much now, but certainly before, they're very different. Yeah. You can work with Japanese students, tell them to go and train and do that kata 1,000 times, and not going to question too much. Where for us here, that's too much. And of course, then we see that belt structure. Now, a lot of arts give the martial arts belt structure a bit of a hard time, saying that they're weak and empty and all that business. But I do think it's vital for, and I say we see it at the young level, and we've seen it ourselves as athletes. But it's vital to see that progression so that they can just start to believe they can do anything.
And then as well in our society, the reward is very important. I try to have a club, not with children, but with let's say the teenagers and adults, without the belt system. And there was motivation missing. Everybody likes to be rewarded. And so I introduced back the belts and gradings, but I don't do gradings as such that everybody lines up and do. I do more like BJJ does, the reward system. So after a year we assess what's your progression, and then the panel of people decided, yes, you worth it, there you go.
Okay, nice.
So I think that works better.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But there's the small achievable goals within the time. Working the best, that's what we know from science. So with everything. So
I wanted to touch upon this, how so of course you and I have as well, we both kind of changed our martial arts to go in the direction that we wanted to go in. But I don't know about you, but for a long time I had a bit of trouble doing that. I felt like a little bit not disloyal, but you know what I mean? For a long time we're held under our teachers, right? Yeah. And it takes quite a lot to go, no, I want this to be my expression. And I found for me there was a little bit of resistance in that, but also I found there was some outside resistance. Now I've seen some posts and some threads on some of your posts, people not knowing you and not understanding, and having a sort of, not a negative comment, but that's not Tensho, and you're like, whoa, back up. So have you found resistance to your own expression of martial arts, and what do you feel about that, and what do you do about it?
So I have a privilege of training with my teacher, who always been very open and encouraging to do something else. So that's why I'm doing dually karate and wrestling. Yeah. But he always was going, go and search, make it yourself. He approved my Taiso program. Yeah. He was very proud of it. Unfortunately, his health deteriorated, and we had to do kind of departure, because in his later years I found a bit of a resistance. I don't know if it's just to the age or whatever is going on. Yeah. And it was holding me back, so I felt much relieved and off the leash when I started doing on my own. And people, especially from the traditional martial arts, the Shotokan groups and Goju groups, there are people who are very resistant to change. No, my teacher said this and this, and that's have to be like this. But if you look on the teachers, they change everything to be their own. Yeah. So I think that's the natural thing to do. You have to adapt to your own. I'm different to you. I'm not gonna be able to do techniques as you, so I need to find my way, and that's how it goes. And on the beginning, it was very hard to receive that critique from the people. Yeah. But a lot of people are supporting. Especially the practical martial arts. I don't know if you feel that you are with the practical. You kind of more on sports side, isn't it?
We're not bunkai, so I would say we're probably kind of more MMA, really. Yeah, we just kind of whatever works.
I'm drifting. I'm in limbo in between, because everybody who I train with and what we do say it's a practical martial art, practical karate. It's on bunkai side. Yeah. I don't see it that way. I do martial art, but I have to work. Yeah. But I don't teach self-defense because I don't have a broad spectrum of awareness, law and stuff like that. Yeah. But I think I'm gonna drift that way. But the support group from them is super, because they're all facing the same thing. Yeah. Bunkai shouldn't look like that, because it's a block punch, not a grab throw. So
I mean, I don't teach martial arts because I think there are better things to do with your life, 25 years of your life, than to prepare for a fight that you're not going to have.
Exactly.
And that isn't to disrespect anyone. That's just my personal feel, which is why I go, when you can improve brain development or a child's upbringing or an older person's community, that for me is it. I can have a fight, but I'm also 46 and would like to think that I probably am a bit over that.
Sure.
Watch me now, get out, go
Say
outside and
me,
get beaten up.
I just like how you can within the kata have possibilities of twisting people's body.
Yeah,
and
I do like the
you know, the
mechanics.
anatomical side of it. You know,
Yeah.
that's what is.
But also in this environment, we potentially could have conflicted and been in competition, but we've become great friends just from the community with sharing ideas, and here we are sharing
that's
some
how it
thoughts
should
as well.
be, really.
I think. I want to get to, I said I put out a post about ideas that people wanted to hear about, and Terry messaged us, and he wanted to know, let me read this, he wants to know if there's anything we could recommend for improving his memory. Now that's interesting actually, because certainly just backing up to BJJ and maybe kata, but we've known kata a while, but probably kata for those who are learning it, there can be a memory issue, and he said, can we do anything to improve memory from a brain development point of view, and can you maybe show a little move or something? And that reminded me of something you did at a mental health seminar that I'm not going to do because I did it so badly.
I'm not doing it. I should have said I would bring the more comfortable trousers.
So Terry, we'll just do it here. We haven't got much room, but Terry, this is for you. This is an exercise that I can't do, which is why I'm not demonstrating it, but Les is going to show you, and this will help your brain development.
Cool. So I picked up this exercise from the Taekwondo guys from Germany. So thank you to Martin Mittermeier. They're using it a lot. So it's 5 stages to it. We try to copy each stage. It's gonna be a bit clumsy because I don't have much room and the trousers are not good. But
He's making excuses.
we try to remember the 5 stages and do them as fast as we go. I'm gonna do 3 slow ones and 2 fast ones so I don't get too sweaty. So first one is crossing the midline, touching one knee, other knee, 1, 2, then you speed up, 1, 2, yeah? One more, 1, 2. Then we're adding, building up to remember the sequence. We're going 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then again faster. I'm not even back on the feet here.
I'm impressed. I'm so impressed.
Your neighbors, I hope you're not going to be...
That's okay, we're over the front.
So the third stage, we're adding another movement, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Not going to make this stuff. Okay, one more time. Yeah, and the last one is that's the fifth one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, faster one if I don't want to trip on you weight wires. And one more time. There you go. Exercise.
I'll tell you, that's too good. But I mean, Terry, there you go. That'll help. That and ginkgo biloba will help your memory. But it's a good drill. I mean, joking aside, that is and I remember when you were doing it, thinking, because of course my background before this was tennis, and we used to do a ton of footwork drills like that because of for movement, etc. But actually, when you look at the kind of online research on what's going on there, because you're crossing the midline, constantly crossing, different coordination, different speeds. That also develops executive functioning, cognitive growth, etc. So there is actually a ton of real life developments I think we get as martial artists if we hone in on certain parts.
Just to jump in there because you just reminded me. I don't know if you met it because she's not coming with us very often for seminars, but we got the autistic student Danny who came to us and didn't know left and right.
Right.
And now after 5 or 6 years with us, he's doing pad work with no problems, crossing jabs, under kicks, spinning kicks. So there is, those exercises in martial arts in particular, and I think karate because we're doing both sides. It's great for cognitive development. Even in people, with autistic spectrum as well.
Yes.
Yeah. His parents, they say wherever you're gonna go, we're gonna follow you, and put it in the martial arts school because it's just so. And as well, that control failure. He wouldn't go anywhere without parents.
Yeah.
When he starts training with us, he has to be with his brother and mum.
Yeah.
Now he's going with us for the like this kata exchange. You've been on kata exchange. When the Okinawans came
No,
and
yes,
promoted stuff.
yeah.
So there was about 150 people. He was just with us there, enjoying it, and now his sentence to everything is, I'm up for the challenge.
Nice. Which is all you want, right?
Yeah.
In the end,
Yeah.
whether it's framed as cognitive development, improving executive function, whatever it may be, whatever the scientific term may be,
Exactly.
knowing actually that you've got then a student, whether that be a child or an adult, who just goes, actually, yeah, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Because I think this links into mental health actually. I think a lot of people end up being unhappy because they're kind of restricted by their fears.
Yeah.
And then you get that sort of regret, which turns into, I think, anger, frustration, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do think, I at some point, I would like to have a formal research on how what we do affects the brain. Like, so you could say it's this. I mean, I've done the work with Peter Bain, but a real, and especially with on the autistic spectrum and learning difficulties, and go right. This does this because we know it does. We see it, but I still couldn't stand in front of a panel of scientists and then be happy with that.
I think in States the hospital done research with Parkinson's, and they're using now martial art, karate in particular, as a help with the Parkinson's. So
well, that's what I started with. I did. So I came into the brain development thing because I worked with Peter Bain, who was Jeremy and I trained with him in Twickenham. He's one of the UK's leading neurologists, and I think I was second or third dan. He was a first dan. Anyway, he invited. One of his students was doing a thesis. Is the brain of a high-level martial artist different from your Joe Public? And we spent weeks at King's Cross, wired up, doing all sorts of different things, punching stuff. Anyway, obviously, the long and short of it, the brain development, or the myelin sheath, the coating kind of. So the myelin sheath is more developed in high-level martial artists than other people. And his work was specifically based around Parkinson's. The idea then going, if you can develop the myelin sheath, can you improve it, etc., etc. So, I mean, they know, but I think, and so we sort of know from a coordinative point of view. But I find it fascinating on the autistic spectrum point of view that definitely we have quite a few children in our program are autistic, and we have a real big difference. Now, whether that's because they're in a disciplined environment, whether they're focused and they're busy, and we demand that it's tricky to know, but there are definite improvements.
Yeah.
So Les, I want to, we just had a light go out, so we'll just look at a different colour, but that's okay. I just want to talk briefly about meditation because it's been a big part of my life. We've always used kind of meditative techniques in our training, and I know that not a lot of people do, or some people do, some people don't. What's your take on meditation? Where do you put it into your training, and how has it helped?
For me, we done a lot of visualization, which I think it goes with meditation well. But my introduction to meditation was via my wife Anna. She's a Buddhist, so got lots of books on Buddhist. But as you know much more about it than do. I'm using it in our Taiso program. So we've got 15 minutes on the end of a kata meditation, and I'm kind of giving people two choices because I try both type of meditation. So the one when you try to not thinking about anything, that frustrates me too much. So I can't deal with that. But some of my students love it, and they just try to not think anything and work with the movement. For me, it works better to not focus on the thoughts, just let them come in and come out, bombard me, but enjoy the movement. And that's what we do, So we're doing 15 minutes of relaxation, and actually the feedback is from people. They love it. They absolutely love it. That the group doing kata in silence without anybody judging. Because for me, the key point from that part of the session is to not focus on the mistakes. Because I think in life as well, at least for me, we kind of overthinking our mistakes. We're always coming back to the bad things instead of focusing on the good things. So I encourage people who don't know the form we're doing, just go with the flow, make up your own. Don't be held by that mistake that, I'm panic, I have to look what everybody does. Don't worry, nobody's judging you. Just go and enjoy movement. If that's going to be completely something else, express yourself through the kata.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, there is certainly more and more research to the benefits of meditation. I think it's kind of old news now. It's interesting you said the two types, because I'm like you. I do what I call sitting still, doing nothing, where I just, like I've shown before online, that muddy jar where I just let it settle and don't do anything. But for some people that can freak them out a little bit, and it can be too much, and then you need that point of focus, which I think is vital. Personally, I think meditation is key. If I was running the country, I don't know how we got there from here, and I could only teach one thing as a gift, meditation would be it. Because don't you think it hits so many? You've got simple calm down. Yeah. Just you're just at your base level, blood pressure lower, etc., all the way up to the high spectrum of spiritual, whatever. Yeah. That's not our conversation point for today, and everything in between. Yeah. And I have found that for myself, that I think I'm a better person when I meditate than when I'm not. No, I mean, how bad I am now. Can you imagine if I didn't meditate? It'd be nice.
I've got the same. I'm by nature, I'm very impulsive. I want to do everything straight away. I need to do it. And that daily, I don't meditate a lot because of the children. But now we start actually with my little one. Max is copying me. He's 2 and nearly 3 years old. And we sit down in his bedroom and do the 10 breaths, meditating. And he's calming down, I'm calming down. I can deal with everything easier. And I see my long-term students saying that, you're a different person, you're more chilled out, you don't get stressed so much, And it's just better, my health is better, The stress is not very good for us.
They say that in a lot of the texts, certainly the Buddhist texts, that actually you find out how your meditation is going not by how you feel, but how the people who are living with you.
Definitely. And my wife says as well, I've been really annoying by the little things. I don't care about the big things, but little things, it just gets on my nerves and gets me really fast and stressed. And Anna says, it's much better now.
So we know. Okay, let's imagine then that kind of viewers now understand the benefits and they know they've got to get into it, right? But what advice could you give them now that they could leave this webcast and go, right, I'm going to do this, that would take them toward meditation? What would you tell them to do?
I would start with the visualization.
Okay.
Just sit down, imagine nice place, your best holidays everywhere in a life or a most happy event happened to you. Close your eyes, breathe slowly, imagine you're there, enjoy, and hope you burst laughing.
Nice.
That's what happened to me first time when
I started doing it. Giggles?
Yeah. It was kind of embarrassing. Luckily nobody was in the room.
What's crazy, it's just they're spontaneously laughing. And just because we'll all ask that, as I asked when I started, how long would you do that for, kind of roughly?
Because I'm restricted and impatient, my longest session ever of meditation was 20 minutes. Okay. I could do it. I do it regularly, every day 10 minutes. Yeah. And that's on the... It's getting more comfortable, but that's my border. I can't sit still for more than 10 minutes, as you can see.
It's the coffee. Who gave this man coffee?
I can't stand. I'm not designed it. I kind of keep telling myself I'm not mature yet enough to do a long meditation. It's like
mature enough. Like when we reach maturation, we'll suddenly be able to meditate for years.
Yeah. So it's like with the Iaido. I love Iaido, love watching it, trying it. Too boring for me. I can't focus for that long with it.
I was the same with Tai Chi actually.
Yeah.
So 5-10 minutes. Sit down quietly, breathe. You like the visualization, the focus. So visualize on something kind of pleasant, nothing major, nothing mystical, nothing magic, just something pleasant until you feel a little bit better. And then, would you recommend consistency?
Yes. For me, the best was finding that either in the morning or just before the sleeping, the 10 minutes, which I can be left alone, and just do it. At the moment, I don't have that. Some daddy come here.
Then one last question then to leave our guys with is that, of course, this whole webcast is for the older martial artists. Now I realise that is a very broad spectrum, as I said at the top of the hour. It's from kind of 30 all the way through to 70, I understand that. But I just want to deal very briefly, I'm going to ask every guest this actually, for those people who are coming to the martial arts later in life, and I have that question a lot. Oh no, I'm too old to start, etc., etc. What advice would you give those people?
Don't take yourself too seriously. Just have fun. Acknowledge. I think the biggest problem what I finding with people who are martial artists long time, they cannot understand why the brain is 20-year-old and the body is 50-year-old.
Yeah.
And there's that disconnection, I know I can do it, but body cannot do it. So I just realize it. We all have to change, adapt. We cannot do everything what we've been doing in 20 years earlier.
Do you think they will have to shop around? Because of course you're clearly an open school.
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of forward thinking, you're accepting. Do you think they may have to shop around for a school that is a little bit more, not less traditional, because you're traditional as well, but you know what I mean, more welcoming in open ways?
I give advice to all people who come to me, the same thing as my sensei said to me on the first day. Try our session, go somewhere else, have a look what you like the best, then you choose. Everybody's different, everybody likes something else, For me, because you say I'm traditional, but I'm actually not sticking to, I'm more like kind of wrestling club.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody can drink, go around, there's lines, but it's not very structured and rigid.
Yeah.
And some people just don't like that. They like being in a rows, going up and down, doing kihon. And I respect that, everybody have to find their own way. Just be open and try many schools as you can. Choose something which suits you the best. It might not be the best martial art, but it must be the best teacher.
Yeah.
It's completely up to you. You have to feel comfortable and welcome, and that group of people needs to welcome you. You cannot go somewhere when you're gonna be on a corner and people looking at you that or try to beat you up on the first day and to the pulp.
Nice.
You have to be normal.
So I think that's a perfect start to our webcast. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And for you guys, if you have any questions or any topics you want us to discuss, just leave a note in the bottom of the thread under here, and we'll deal with your stuff, with your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much.